hi everyone. We are on a new episode of Yotewo podcast. I think it's Richie, is it the third one of the season? I think it's the third one.
Third one.
And today we have myself, Richie, and we have two our guests, Rob and Tamara. If you guys want to, maybe give a quick introduction on yourself and what you guys are building, and we'll take it from there.
Okay, well, I'm Rob Troy, and I am the CEO of Unzipped. And I started Unzipped because many of the barriers that deaf people face, people who cannot hear, are exactly the same barriers as they faced 30 years ago when I first started learning sign language, and probably even before then. Not much has really changed. So at Unzipped, we help deaf people communicate better with companies and organizations using sign language. And the reason for this is that many deaf people struggle to read and write English. I'll ask you a question. What do you think the average reading age of a deaf adult is in the UK?
Reading age?
I'm going to say 15.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll say 18.
18?
I don't know. I'm just going to lowball it because of what you said. I'll say 12, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, 12 is the lowest, right. So the average reading age of a deaf adult in the UK is just 8 years old.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And 2/3 of deaf Americans leave high school functionally illiterate.
Wow.
It's a shocking statistic.
Yeah, it is.
Most people just don't realize. But what this means is that if deaf people cannot hear and speak, and reading and writing is also problematic,
of course, yeah.
Engaging with the world in any meaningful level becomes virtually impossible. So everyday tasks you and I take for granted, filling out forms, browsing the internet, complaints, feedback, raising inquiries, it's all just becomes really, really difficult.
Yeah.
And for them, it has having a pretty catastrophic impact on their well-being. So the mental health, deaf people are twice as likely to have a mental health problem than hearing people.
So we talked about this on a call, didn't we? We were saying how you can feel isolated, and I'd seen someone within the family as well who suffered from the hearing, and how they started being more withdrawn.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a profound impact that is affecting this community.
Yeah.
And for organisations, for companies, our research shows that they are just not aware of this problem. So for companies, they are missing out on potentially new customers.
Yeah,
the customers that they do have are not engaged.
Yeah.
Because they're not able to access traditional feedback mechanisms by which that they can communicate with the company, right? And this is obviously affecting the bottom line. So if we were to take like Uber Eats or like Deliveroo or something like that, if you can imagine Deliveroo, for example, putting our technology into their app so deaf people could give feedback in sign language about the meal that they've just had, right? If they do this, you're going to have 100,000 deaf people times the average order of 30 quid.
Yeah.
That's a £3 million uplift to Deliveroo. All of the deaf people, because there's so few products out there for deaf people, everyone's going to switch from Uber Eats to yours because they don't have an alternative to go to, right?
So if someone's watching it Deliveroo,
if somebody's watching it Deliveroo, there you go, or whoever, right? But so it just makes financial, economic sense for these companies to engage with their entire customer base.
Exactly.
And that also leads to better products, better services. If you are hearing feedback from all of your customers, and not just some of your customers, clearly your products and services are going to be better.
Exactly, yeah.
And there's a couple other reasons as well, like legally. So again, something that organizations just don't realize. If you do a review and earn scheme where we can write a review, leave feedback, and get 25% off the next purchase.
Yeah.
And deaf people cannot do that in sign language. It's actually indirectly discriminatory.
Exactly,
so deaf people's rights are now framed, thanks to the BSL Bill 2022, their rights are framed under language, not just disability. So that was under the old Equality Act of 2010. Now that they're framed under language, you need to make yourself accessible in sign language.
Yeah,
true.
And the research that we told deaf people this in one of our research groups, and they went, but you could just write anything and you could get 20. I was just like, yeah, we do.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, this guy piped up and he just says, well, That's not the point. The point is we're being left behind. The point is we're not aware of this.
Yeah.
Right. So it is exacerbating this income equality as well. And lastly, in my opinion, I just don't think it's acceptable for companies and nowadays to accept money from a customer and then not be an accessible way in which that customer can give feedback about the products or services that they've just bought. Like there's a real ethical issue that is going on there. So at Unzipped, our mission is to amplify the voices of deaf people. Open up. We've created a new channel where companies can now listen to the voices of deaf people. And open up that customer base. And we'll see products, and services improve. Do I have time? I know, appreciate that's a very long, long kind of introduction. But I can give you. Let me give you a quick example. So, the biggest gym chain in the country has just done a massive refurb in London. Everything, all the layout has been redone. Looks brilliant, right? I came with my friends. This is about a year ago. With my friends, he looks around and goes, "I'm not going to be here. I'm not going to come here." I was just like, "Huh?" It's like, "Why? Everything looks good. Everything's brand new." He said, "The walkway is along here." He said, "All of the machines, they are all facing, or many of the machines are facing with my back towards the walkway." He said, "So I can't see what's behind me. I'm not going to feel safe. If something's happening behind me, I am not going to be able to help them." And he didn't just point out the problem. He just said, all they have to do is put some mirrors in the corner, top of the wall, on both corners so that I can see.
Yeah.
And my jaw hit the floor. I was like, huh.
Yeah.
How many other people in the gym would benefit or have
women
who'd be like, I don't feel safe with having lots of activity happening behind me.
Exactly, yeah.
Imagine how good the products and services would be if we were listening to voices like that. The most common sense thing.
Exactly.
And no gyms, obviously, they're missing out on insights like this.
It's quite common, I guess, like for things to face towards the wall because of like treadmills and stuff, right? So I guess like almost every single one of them has this problem.
But what a low-cost solution to suddenly being able to market and say we're the UK's #1 gym for deaf people. Exactly. We see you. We see what the problems that you have. Yeah. We're making a point of saying you are visible to us.
Exactly.
And going back to that Deliveroo example that I said earlier, what our technology allows Deliveroo to have is they will know who their deaf customers are. Yeah. Because at the moment, deaf people are just like you and I. They don't need to declare themselves.
I was about to say
to when they go out and buy your product, to when they go to the gym. So companies don't know. So it's like the Tesco's club card, as it were, of you figure out, okay, I know who that customer is. Exactly. I know what they're doing. I know what their habits are. Yeah. Suddenly your marketing machine can kick in.
Of course,
Happy days, right?
When you came in, because I was trying to find the sign language for podcasts, and apparently there wasn't one.
Oh, gosh.
Is this welcome? Is that
welcome this?
Welcome. So I was going to welcome you to the podcast, but I couldn't find it.
Well,
and
I don't know.
Thank
you.
For
podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for coming on anyway.
Podcast. That's so cool. Thank you for having me. I should have started by saying thank you to Yotewo for having me here. I mean, gosh, you can tell this is my first time, right? I was actually walking here on the way and thinking, gosh, this is the first time I've ever been on a podcast. This is
nice. We're honoured as well.
Well, we're honoured for you to be on
have
ours,
you guys.
And it goes out saying like it's really great to have you both on, and for those who don't know, obviously you're two of the three finalists that we have as well for the competition as well. So it's a special edition this episode.
Yeah, totally. Tamara, please, word to you. Can you? Yeah.
Well, thank you to you guys for inviting. That's why I let you go first.
Learn from my mistakes.
So Heretical AI is a company that I started with psychologists and retired police officer. So there was 4 of us to start with, but there's 3 of us now as co-founders. And our mission is to kind of help people who are going through gender-based violence and to reduce gender-based violence. That was our kind of initial starting point, but AI kind of gave us a chance to do basically anything. So focus was a real issue. we've narrowed it down to kind of fighting coercion and manipulation wherever we can. So starting with identifying victim blaming in public sector services, and then coercive and controlling language, both in sort of crimes like domestic abuse and fraud, which affects both the criminal justice system and finance, but also obviously individuals. But I was struck as you were talking about deaf people and how they're disenfranchised and isolated, how much worse that would be for anybody experiencing coercion and control, because you're already, you don't know. And it's a similar thing to sort of different types of coercive crimes like human trafficking or something, that you don't know these people are there. You don't know that they're suffering. And if you don't have like deaf people involved in your products or your planning, you just don't know what their needs are, and you don't know that they exist, because they don't have that voice and they don't have the power to interact.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Totally.
And I guess the challenge, we know that when you design and build for the edges, we know that benefits everybody. And I guess you will also in your work have to figure out, well, how do we get, what do the edges look like in our work? Because I know, and I've dealt, so I should have talked about my background. My background is as a sign language interpreter, but I specialized in complex mental health. So the presentation of voices in deaf people who are experiencing schizophrenia, but that often involves abuse, and because deaf people cannot easily communicate, they are seen as very easy easy people to victimize, because they think vulnerable. I'm going to get away with this, very vulnerable. The percentages, I wouldn't like to guess on the number, but it's probably statistically much higher. And again, I guess it will be for women who don't necessarily speak the language of the country that they're in. Again, there is that perceived, vulnerability that can be exploited.
I was seeing some of the stats, like something like 1.3 million like domestic abuse cases or something in like a single year. I mean, like, how do you even deal with that much data as a force?
How to process this?
Well, I mean, the way services deal with that is trying to prioritize the cases that are going to lead to worst outcomes, to avoid those worst outcomes. And it's a really, really tricky thing to do. So that's kind of the background we came from when we started working with police forces, was looking at how they do risk assessments and how they, how the risk assessments are done in police forces and across different public sector, because they have to actually cut that. And it's really, really incredibly hard to decide from very difficult interviews. Like that will also, come up as well, accessibility. There, people don't want to talk about things that have happened to them, or they've actually become so accustomed to the abuse that they don't really know what's relevant to say in a short interview. It feels like it's historic. You feel like you're not going to be listened to. So it's really difficult to capture that information and to make that assessment. But usually people just devolve to very simple kind of tick box exercises. And the algorithms that are used, even the machine learning algorithms that are used, are pretty basic. And so what we want to do is to be able to leverage any extra data that might be available around that relationship from other services, from their chats, from their emails, to just paint a fuller picture and give more of a comprehensive look at the patterns of abuse. They might look very simple, and every single instance might look like a very light sort of thing. It's not a punch. It's not a physical abuse situation, but actually can erode a person's ability to
control, or the language or tone changes during the relationship.
And one of the things that I saw on LinkedIn, and I'm really sorry that I can't attribute it to the right person, was that people who control, they only need to exert as much control as they need to get compliance. So it doesn't have to be, it doesn't even have to be verbal. It doesn't have to be a look. If you know what's coming, they only have to, scare you once. And that could be anything. That could be like, I'll take away your children, I'll hurt the dog, or anything really. So it doesn't have to be physical.
Exactly. Yeah.
Gosh.
Thanks so much for introduction, guys. It's very kind of like I'm still processing the stuff. So, Rich, do you want to say a brief?
I was going to say, so
yeah.
Neil from Sprite apologises that he couldn't make it today, but he's our third finalist. So I did want to read this out on his behalf because they are working on something I think very important. I think a lot of people can resonate with because I think from Sprite, they realise that there's a lot of good technology as well within like healthcare and things like that. But I think it's something that we've all experienced where you can't make an appointment or there's something come up and you need to rearrange it or anything, and the flexibility of some of these like appointments is really difficult. So I liked it because I'm one for being quite forgetful at times, and I'll set reminders. But even I can be sat there 10 minutes before a call and then get distracted, right? So constant alerts, constant notifications, I'm a big fan of. And so healthcare doesn't have a technology problem, it has an access problem. So every year, millions of appointments are missed, not because people don't care about their health, but because the system makes it too hard to engage. Long hold times, letters that arrive too late, portals people don't use. And this is what's clever about Sprite as well, because it uses WhatsApp, right? Everybody's got WhatsApp. Not everybody wants to download another app or anything like that. And obviously we all live really busy lives, right? You're trying to spin so many plates and juggling the kids and everything else. So behind every missed appointment is someone real. A delayed cancer diagnosis, a child waiting longer for care, a clinician left sitting idle while someone else is still on the waiting list. This isn't just inefficient, it's deeply human. The problem we set out to solve with Sprite, we built ASA, an AI medical receptionist that lives in your pocket. It speaks to patients the way they already communicate through simple messaging in their own language at any time of day. It makes it effortless to book, reschedule, ask questions, and actually show up, because healthcare shouldn't expect patients to adapt to it. It should adapt to them. And for me, this is personally, we've seen family members struggle to navigate the system. I had a video call with Neil as well, and I can tell like some of his motivation is drawn on a personal experience with a family member who was getting delayed access to some of these services. So for me, it's a personal, we've seen family members struggle to navigate the system, missed calls, missed letters, missed chances to get care at the right time. Sprite exists to remove that friction, to make access simple and to make sure fewer people fall through the cracks. And I think what I was really impressed as well is you was really able to, reschedule, change things, but also they could predict as well how likely somebody was going to miss an appointment as well, because obviously missed appointments cost the NHS absolutely millions of pounds every month. And a way of getting more people attending these, and also in some areas of the country, like you can even get like transport paid for, because the cost of that missed appointment is so much valuable. Like it's worth paying for a taxi for that person if they've got excess, they could be disabled or they're having issues getting there on time. So I think they're working on something really fantastic. And we were discussing this, wasn't we? Like, and probably a great opportunity as well to thank our independent judges as well, who helped us with our Yotewo competition. So, Colin Burns, Anna Williams, and Anna Dinesh. We all seem to gravitate towards companies that were working on things that I think like really matter. It was. Great to have you again, and Neil as well. We'll see you soon, no doubt.
Definitely, yeah.
And just to validate the work that Sprite is doing, because we know that the government or the NHS, they waste over £1 billion on miscommunication. And for deaf people, 80 to 100 million is lost every year on miscommunication.
Wow.
So we've just finished a pilot with the NHS, and we found that when using traditional feedback methods like Google reviews, they captured 0%. No deaf people use them. And once we put up a BSL entry point on a poster, in the GP, you scan the thing, they went up to feeding back as much as 70% as the hearing population. So exponentially more.
Yeah.
Huge compared to them being 0.3% of the population.
Wow.
And what we found was, yes, there are interpreters in the consultations, but everything falls apart in the trying to book, at the end, trying to book a GP appointment, trying to arrange an interpreter, as Sprite also, that problem they're trying to solve it is all of that friction that is happening either side of that appointment. And then once the appointment's happened, where do you feed back? How do you complain, or how do you praise? What's happened in that consultation? So we have very important work that they're doing, and because so often, as you said, these systems just are not made for people with busy lives, or potentially for people who don't have the IT literacy that we are so lucky to have. Very important work.
Actually, I have a question about that, because we're all building tools that are online based, and we're but like there are people who are still struggling to deal with a mobile phone and don't want to adapt to using one, for example. Like my dad is like really not keen, it's hard to find a way, and like I said, like all the stuff that we're working on is text processing. You said the literacy age is 8. Like it's really hard to be very inclusive. We need all of us to cover different parts of the system. We need so many more companies that are doing social good, because even if there are overlaps, a certain service will catch different people in different groups.
100%. When I was thinking, when I was getting prepared for this episode, when I was going through sort of the questions and the topics, I was trying to understand what is the common kind of like umbrella topic of the episode will be, and I've realized that the common thing, and what you guys are all doing is it can be called like tech for good, right? It's like socially positive tech. We can call it AI for good, whatever is the right name. But the end goal is like positive impact on the people and on society. So the first thing that I wanted to kind of touch upon is because regulation, like the UK in general is pretty conservative country, right? And I was and in terms of tech adaptation as well. And I was reading recently through the news feed where I was reading about AI Center that was established by was National Crime Agency, I think, NCA. They established like 115 million AI Center to use AI to help with like justice and legal processes. And I was quite surprised, because usually UK is quite like delayed on the innovation, and well, maybe not too much, but like slightly delayed. And I was quite surprised about that, and especially when it comes to like government and regulation, these are extremely like delayed. So my first like sort of topic that I wanted to ask is how do you guys assess the maturity of the UK as a country for those kind of solutions, from perspective of clients, because you guys as well, you work with like for instance police institutions, you guys did a pilot with NHS. So what was your experience with like the users, the investors as well, the go-to-market strategy, like this kind of things?
How long do we have?
Tamara's going to take this one first.
You had a long intro, I can have a long rant.
Absolutely.
First of all, I met the guys from police.ai, and they're trying to do all the right things. They're really, really trying to kind of think about how they can use this money to actually improve what is the state of policing, which is, like about 3 years ago when I went into this, I was like, it's going to be that TV show Numbers. We're going to do data. It's going to be amazing. We're going to solve crimes. It's not like that. Like, it's like,
and we
if
had
you
some theme music.
Exactly.
If you come as a computer scientist, you just start like tearing your hair out, because the systems are so outdated. There's a lot of stuff that they have there they're not using. There's like the data disconnect is incredible. Like we all experience NHS, so we know what that is like, but we don't really see inside the police forces and how difficult it is for them to do their jobs from day to day, because they cannot access their own data. There's some contracts in there that are like, make it really difficult for police forces to integrate with other forces, data transfer, or to actually just get the data out to do data science on our own data. So it's incredibly hard for them technologically. But I feel that, and I think that that's where Police.ai is kind of doing, is that, it's sort of a infrastructure leap. It's going to allow people to maybe not try to go back and do a 3-year porting from like old databases to new database technology by the time everything's old again and so on. It takes like the amount of data they process is incredible. Like each individual, like you said 1.3 just domestic abuse cases, but like that's one of the, that makes about 20% of the crime. There is still 80%, which is like way more, so there's so much data to go through. So I think that's where like AI and new technologies are going to allow people to maybe not really worry about integrating and all the databases together, but actually, being able to communicate and put data together in new ways. And I think that's going to make it a lot better in some ways. Yeah. But as far as adoption, very, very scared. Everybody's scared. It's a very kind of safety first, which you want them to be, because it's very important for us for that to be secure. But to the point where like it's affecting the services negatively, it's not so good.
Yeah, of course.
And then from the investment front, well, they're slow to adopt, so it's a long conversion rate. Investors are not interested, and they don't. It's funny, they spend a lot of money on like big consultancies, but they don't spend a lot of money on startups. So investors are not like,
because that's what I would assume, because investors, they're looking at how quickly can you make it commercially working. But when there is, the end users are slow to adapt, then kind of investors are as well. So it's,
so I know, like we're like, public sector slow, let's do finance. But I've already worked in a fintech as well, like, and I know that that's another 2 years as well. So same thing. But you have to, in a way, you have to tackle the problems that you think you can make a difference in.
No, totally, 100%. Rob, how was your experience on that?
Similar. Are we saying no? Are we saying that we're not quite there? That's where I would lean to. So I would agree with Tamara on that. I don't think that we are where we would want to be in terms of like tech for good. I do find that investors, whether it's accelerator programs, whether it's competitions, applications that you're putting in, that the focus is still on efficiency. There have been a number of times where we've been passed over for some company that has optimized a process. And I've always left not feeling sad that I've lost, but I scratch my head, just go, they're not solving a problem. And it gets me, because it is always going to be easier. If you have 400 words or 3 minutes, I will always be able to, it's always going to be easier to communicate to a room full of people. Of course. I can save you 20% of your time by optimizing this process, spit out the saving, happy days. Much harder to communicate how you are fundamentally going to change the quality of a deaf person's life, right? In this time period. And the default is to efficiency. And there isn't any social impact bonus. There's no mechanism by which there is this social impact bonus. Like, if we looked at the recruitment sector, we can implement a mechanism like positive hiring. There's an immediate, there's a benefit here for this company internally and externally, because there's a visual kind of thing that's going on. We don't have that in the UK tech ecosystem at all. And so you do have us being pitched against chatbots and marketplace apps and all the others, right? And I think it is because there is, as you said, a lack of confidence currently in the market. I would go so far as to say we need to question what we think maturity in a market means. Like historically, it would be like, right, give me the compliance sheet. Tell me 10 things that I have to do, and then I'm going to get on with business as usual, right? That's as simple as it was.
True.
That is not the case now. You cannot do that. The best definition of maturity would be try and align yourself as best as you can with all of the principles that are out there.
Sure.
Because we don't have any certainty when it comes to the legal landscape.
Yeah.
Like, if we look at it, we're trying to. The UK hasn't taken a centralized approach, right? We have this sector approach to AI. We don't have that single bill.
Yeah.
So we have to find out which sector we're going to align with. And that in itself, that kind of legacy sector is in itself rather dangerous, because they are old-fashioned kind of regulators in a way. And tech has historically been like, go fast, let's break everything, and let's move forward. You can't do that if you're being regulated in a different way.
It's even faster now, right?
Right.
And so mad fast.
To a certain extent, even faster now. And we have to bear in mind that because of extra territorial reach, we still have to bear in mind the EU and the AI EU bill. We have to comply with UK GDPR. We're still waiting for the Supreme Court, I think, right, for patents coming up. We've got there's this copyright issue. We've got this liability, like this liability issue. Who's to blame when something goes wrong?
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, there is so much uncertainty at the moment that there just isn't this kind of movement forward. It is creating some sort of paralysis, because the legal aspect of things used to be on the peripheral. Do you remember, like, back in the day, GDPR came in and we're like, oh my goodness, look, if only we could just have one GDPR, like we would deal with that. Now we have so many balls that are up in the air.
That's true.
Right. And it's just demanding. It's completely different. Like, when we look at maturity, I think we're just saying, right, is the market aligning itself the best that it can? And it is no longer, I don't think maturity is, and this is what we're seeing, particularly with larger companies, let's sit on the fence, let's wait and see till everything's certain, and then we'll know what we're going to do. That's not maturity. That doesn't help us at all. Right?
True.
Maturity has to be companies who are building stuff in a really flexible way, like stuff that can flex, so that when we get that certainty, I can change it and be like, right,
the right way.
Right, now we need to do this, or we need to throw it out because we got it wrong, or we need to continue doing what we're doing because we guessed it right. And that's easier for small companies. Building stuff and business as usual for big companies that don't have that flex, because they're not going to want to do things twice or three times. So we are in a situation where we're just sitting on the fence, as it were. So that's kind of like my overview. I would say that I am frustrated with the fundraising, the investing, and we've only just put our toe into it. But certainly in terms of funding, I do feel that efficiency trumps this like tech for good. I feel like if we had invented the pacemaker, it's like the system is evaluating us on how quickly it beats, and not on how well it saves a patient's life. And that's what we're trying to do, right? We're trying to say, this is the impact, this is the good that we're doing, recognize this, right? But given there's so much uncertainty in the landscape, decision makers and gatekeepers are going, I'm going to sit on the fence on this one, and I'm going to settle for efficiency.
It's hard for people to see the end user as well. Like, so, it's difficult for us to be B2C, but, B2B2C, I guess. It's kind of what it is. But it's hard for people to see the end user as someone, as a customer, like when you go, okay, domestic abuse is a £66 billion problem, yearly problem in UK. But that money is not money that's going out of a particular institution, It's not going to solve it for it might help a little bit for the taxpayer, it might help a little bit for the police forces, it might help a little bit here and there, but there isn't a single organization that's going to benefit. And the same for you as well. Like, there are people that are everywhere, and it's little gains in their lives that are actually going to have a big knock-on effect economically, but there isn't one kind of organization that's going to benefit most of it. Right?
And so when we have 400 words, or we have a 3-minute pitch, how do we get that across? Right? It's not. And when we have VCs or angel syndicates, that are seeing thousands of applications, this is pattern recognition.
Yeah.
They're going to spot that business model and be like, I know that has made me money 10 times before.
Exactly,
If you
yeah.
have any complexity like we have in our business models, it's not that it's a bad idea,
Yeah. Just never.
but
been
they
done
just
before.
haven't got time to go
Yeah.
through because they are on autopilot. They are
Yeah.
just going to sift through because it's too much.
Yeah.
And this is why this, this referral and this, meeting with people, right, and being,
as
with,
important as
with
never,
those
yeah.
people is so important. I kept on thinking about, you mentioned about like the B2B application, and I was thinking like, wouldn't it be great, like even almost like a bit of a self-check of like the language you're using, whether it's on Slack or even to a colleague, or like before you actually send it, maybe like it even flags and just says, hey, like, are you sure you want to send it like that? Why not try
actually
these words
interesting.
and things like that? Because
there's a lot
yeah.
of applications, but like even sort of from insider trading to workplace bullying
Yeah.
and all that
Yeah.
stuff, it could be for yourself, it could be monitoring within your organizations. There's tons and tons of applications.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's hard, like when you're going into pitch, you're like, and this and this and this and this, like it doesn't actually make it sound focused. So we've really kind of pared it down. We're working on the police front because that's the
Yeah.
thing we worked on
Yeah.
2 years ago, and those things are coming through now. So we're working on that, but our pitch deck now reflects financial organizations and fighting fraud.
Yeah.
But I think what we'd ideally like to do is have like a platform with APIs that actually works across different markets, and we can be actually very adaptable and help a lot of different things, and be culturally adaptable, because what we are working on is culturally sensitive, and so in different environments you just need to be a little bit more careful to catch different what's acceptable, what's not, right? So,
I think you start in the most important place, though, right? And then, look, not that like things like, workplace bullying things aren't important. I mean, it costs companies, millions, billions probably in tribunal costs and things like that. That could have probably been avoided, right, if the right language was used, or, people have felt bullied or been a victim, right? And, yeah, because am I right as well with your it can across like different like voice notes, messages, email.
and just pull it all together and kind of show the pattern of behavior over time. And then what you're saying about workplace bullying, but those are the direct costs of like tribunals. But what people don't get is the indirect costs of whistleblowers not bringing up or people not reporting things that are going wrong in the company because they don't feel safe to do so because of the environment, and that can cost you like billions in not uncaught bugs, and stuff like that. So it's having a really good workplace environment and psychological safety everywhere you go is really important. So from your home to workplace to wherever. I mean, it sounds all kind of, I don't know, woke, but I think it's important even
Edmondson,
from...
we can't be... Edmondson wrote a book called Psychological Safety. Have you read it?
No, I mean, but I've heard the term of it.
Well, I know about this. I've studied this.
Interesting, yeah.
Add it to the reading list,
But it's interesting what you said about having to reduce the way that, our value into something that is generally not natural. And I did it at the start of this. I was like, okay, let me tell you, there's a financial reason, a legal reason, these kind of reasons in order to persuade somebody. Okay, because, and maybe at the end, if you will let me at the end, I'll kind of sum up kind of what I really wanted to say in terms of why I do what I do, even though I dissected it into other reasons. But if we looked at early stage startups, social tech startups, historically they have usually, certainly in the first financial wave, been funded by individuals who have some sort of connection to that cause. In our like somebody who has a deaf son, or their partner is, or something like this. And this has historically been the case because, as we said earlier, the angel syndicate fit doesn't work. For me to be able to say yes, I think that the UK market has matured, as in there's been movement along that graph. You would expect there to be a change in who is funding early tech for good startups, right? And I don't think anything has changed. Like, we've dipped our toe into fundraising. And our strategy now will be, we are going to find those individuals and we are going to do exactly the same as all of the other companies that have come before us. So again, it may be like another data point of where we'd say, no, I don't think the UK market has come along enough and has matured, enabled for it to make a difference for UK startups.
It still keeps on eating away at me, that average reading age. Like there should definitely be like a target, right? Like we need to get this up to like 12 at least in the next 2 years or something. You know, I know it sounds ridiculous, but you can't go from 8 to 18, can you, overnight? But you know, I think there needs to be maybe a bit more ambitious. Let's go 16. But like, let's, you know,
you need this tight line.
You need to be held accountable, right? We need, you know, if you don't set these targets, the you know, they just don't, you know, just nothing happens, right? You've got to be bullish and really like.
I think it's hard. Like, sorry, I'm basing this on just like, I think maybe an ad or a video that I saw about a deaf kid in school, and just like the way it presented how disenfranchising it is to be in a like mainstream school if nobody like you know can communicate with you can't keep up with what's happening, and so it's basically just completely disorienting, isn't it? To go through life like that, and then how do you jump on like just I need to up my reading age, like you just I just need to get through my day, right?
Exactly. Do you think there could be quicker fixes for this problem?
Yes, and I guess that is the introduction of sign language into spaces. So what you've just expressed is the go-to place. People go, well, we need to improve the reading age, right? But if we look at why that reading age is so low, it is not because of intelligence. It's because there is this language difference. Now, sign language is different to the spoken language. Like, my name is Rob, name me what, Rob, name me what, like Rob. It's a completely different language. And we know that the physiology of deafness disrupts the way that we would normally learn language. We learn the written language through hearing the spoken language. So deaf people can't do that, right? So we need to find another way of teaching them to learn the written language. Now, 90% of deaf children are born to hearing parents who don't know sign language. So this kid can't hear, their parents don't know sign language. So there is this delay in language acquisition. And then by the time they get to school, we're focusing on language. But the third problem is you cannot learn a second language if you don't have a primary instilled first language, right? And a deaf person's native language will always be a sign language because it has to be a visual language because they can't hear. So we need to get kids signing earlier than so that they have a primary language. And we know that deaf kids who come from deaf families where signing is in the home environment, they actually have a linguistic advantage because a kid can sign before 12 months old because the dexterity of hands is formed before vocal cords. So kids can sign from the age of about 6 months, but they can't speak until about 12 months. So we know that signing is the way forward. That, however, does not fit with government agendas where and also parents. It's very difficult to ask a parent to imagine bringing up a kid in a language that you don't speak. So what do? We say, okay, I'm going to try and fix you. There's a hearing problem here. Let's see whether I can make you hearing. And it is cheaper, arguably, to stick a cochlear inside somebody's head and try and get them to hear than it is to promote sign language. Because sign language, deaf people would see themselves not as disabled. They see themselves as a linguistic minority. If everybody knew sign language, it wouldn't be a disability.
I saw that, I don't know if you probably remember that commercial where basically this person who was deaf, they trained people, so like when they were walking down the street for the first time, like they would bump into somebody and the person would speak back sign language. So it was all staged basically, but it meant like probably for the first time they went out in the world and everybody they come across could sign, and it was a really moving commercial. I'll have to forward it on to you. But basically, they go to the shop and the person behind the counter signs to them, and they're like, "What's going on?" Something's like, "This is just crazy." And but I think in the US, there's I've seen like people encouraging to do sign with children before anyway, even though they weren't deaf.
When my kids were little, there were there was a lot of that chat about like encouraging or like to reduce the frustration in babies, and the way they communicate is to get them to sign basic. Yeah. And a lot of the schools that my kids were in, they learned some basic sign language, but it's from teacher to teacher, and whether they're interested and they can, carve out time in their daily life to, busy class time to actually teach the kids. But I think they all know a tiny bit now, which is like really, really great, because they come home and show me bits, and I was like, oh, that's really nice. Yeah.
It is becoming more fashionable. When I first started interpreting like 20 years ago, and people were like, what do you do? Like now there is Mr. Tumble. We are seeing deaf people in society. There is, totally. Rosie once Strictly Come Dancing, I think. She was profoundly, So it is becoming more visible.
Yeah.
And, generally viewed much more positively.
Yeah. Okay.
I've seen Mr. Tumble.
Excellent. Excellent.
Can avoid that.
Job done. My work is done.
Guys, and can I also ask the question? So I was reading also like a lot of, because I was reading about the the reason how I came up to this question. I was reading about the Claude Code's leakage of the source code a couple of days ago. And usually people recently when I'm speaking with someone about machine learning and AI, people have two concerns, right? One is about how secure is my data, and second is how biased is AI. And obviously both products are based on machine learning, right? So I just want to ask your thoughts on, do you see this as a big risk in this business at all, or sort of in this vertical, or is it not really a huge thing? Yeah. I
mean, data leakage is always a risk, and the more we use Claude Code to code. Sorry, Claude. My best friend.
It is now. Yeah. We didn't think it was.
There are other models available out there.
No, it's there is still, and you guys obviously Yotewo will be aware that there is a difference between prototyping and then a human going through it, human with experience in what they're doing. So I'm a computer scientist. I've done quite a lot of computer science, but what I haven't done is software engineering and a lot of product development and design. So when I work with Claude, it's a different way that you guys work with Claude. But I feel about these sort of AI programming tools, it's really changed my life, because it's my kind of crutch, right?
Yeah.
And actually, same with just the chatbots. For me, it's a massive crutch, because expressing myself clearly, has been a problem in the past. But actually, I feel like I've been trained up now gently by somebody who's got a lot of patience to order my thoughts in a more linear fashion.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
But so the way, a software engineer uses Claude Code is something like a very artistic person might use Photoshop. They'll get way better results out of it. But all of us can use it and get something out of it. It's just going to look like we cut and pasted it. So you need somebody to go through it. If you're going to build a product, you can't just, vibe code it and chuck it out. I don't maybe we'll be there in a year. Maybe we'll be there in 2 years, but we're not there yet now. And neither is Anthropic.
That's true.
But bias, or just to address the second part of the question. Bias is always going to be an issue, because bias is there in the data collection. It's in the data preparation. It's in the choices we make when we design a model. It could be in the number of parameters, anything, literally anything that we do. The bias is going to be there. So we need to test for those biases. We need to understand what those biases are. Yeah. And with LLMs, I always visualize it as a sort of a landscape. And it has multiple biases at once. And the way you phrase your prompts pulls out certain biases. So my prompts will be different from your prompts, and my biases will be encoded into that prompt, but also underlying biases, societal biases will be in the underlying data. You can push it. Actually, now you can more easily debias it with prompts, I feel, than with training data in some ways. If you have enough training data. If you have enough training data, you can debias in better ways, but you still have to have that test data.
Of course.
That is checking for all the different biases, but you won't know what all the different biases are because you don't have the lived experience of all the different people. So you need to interact in the living world with as many different types of people and see how your product will affect them, so that you can see. I know obviously that my products are nowhere near debiased as I would like them to be. I think that's for everybody to say.
Absolutely, everybody. Yeah.
And it like if my website is not accessible, I don't have the capacity to do all these things. But there are companies out there that do, and they should be more careful.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder whether because the risks are magnified when it comes to AI, simply because of the reach of AI.
Yeah.
I wonder whether we are going to have to move beyond field work and, in the historical sense, market research. Let me get to know my customer. We're probably going to have to bring the customer in on a code level if we're going to be serious about not having biases. And what you said there is interesting, that it reflects society today. Like, there's a temporal aspect to what is acceptable and what isn't acceptable, because it's going to constantly be kind of evolving, right? I don't know what Generation Z are on about, let alone Generation Alpha. And so unless that person has a lived experience, you know, it's almost, you know, the people who are sitting down at the code level, then it is probably likely that, you know, you are going to have bias in there.
Exactly.
And I know that
feedback, right? That's where giving feedback is so important.
Letting
everybody be able to give feedback, right? So even somebody who might be deaf from a certain generation or whatever it might be, because I think that, you know, there's an acceptance that, look, they are going to evolve and they are going to need fine tuning along the way, right? It's not going to be perfect.
Totally.
So, but the more people can engage with it, be able to give feedback, and you know, and then something be done by it, right? It's like,
well, yeah. So in terms of where we don't have AI in our system. We are still building the infrastructure for it. But this is a nice example of how the deaf community is 2 or 3 years behind. We are very used to text-heavy marketing channels, and now we're moving on to AI. And yes, while we're thinking about the future, our product is simply trying to get what all of you and everybody else has had for many years. Like, the deaf people are that far behind. Like, forget AI. Yes, we can work on that now. Yeah. But we are still just trying to get these big companies and every shop in the high street to go, make yourself accessible. Like, they don't even have any access at the moment to these people.
Not even AI, just
let alone like thinking about the AI.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, we have a tendency as human beings to kind of polarize everything, and we have entered, I would say, a little bit into a trap of thinking that AI is this bad machine, and we as human beings, we have a human moderator there. All of a sudden, that human moderator is going to debias the machine, and it's astonishing how much money has gone into AI, like trying to make sure that AI is fair. But there's no money. I wish we had spent that much money trying to debias ourselves, like cognitive audits, right? And what I find, I was just, as you were talking, it's going to be very interesting to see whether, even though both camps are biased, the AI will always be consistently biased. So given that we don't know how to, because of the variability in bias in human nature, if we can map all of the human contact points with this AI machine, given the AI machine is constant, we will actually be able to learn about where our human biases are, right? And we'll be able to ascertain whether or not this bias is from the machine or whether it is from people. But it's...
I think, well, what I'm saying is I think that LLM bias is variable based on who it interacts with, right? So I mean, you get these kind of things, people fall into loops that, you know, other people might not fall into loops, you know, where they end up going like harming somebody because the AI told them. That's like a really negative reinforcement loop that happens because the bias just keeps getting...
It's an endogenous cycle, isn't it?
Yeah. And then, so I think that there's a lot of work actually being done in AI communities or the research communities about mapping these sort of fluid spaces, right? Whereas, even when we were working on victim blaming language, we had, 3 psychologists or like working on labeling the data, but they would be about 70% aligned with each other, and you're like, and they're all sitting on the same side of that polarized fence, more or less. So they all believe that there is victim blaming language in this. They're all looking for it to their best ability, but still, like, people also get tired as well for these kind of tasks where you're trying to kind of interrogate data and so anything you're trying to unpick biases, people you get them at different times of day. They have different types of biases, because they're just like they're tired, they're angry, their stuff,
and it's good to see, like, sorry to interrupt, like OpenAI, Anthropic, all these companies now, like, hiring. You see all these jobs now for researchers and like they're moving at speed because they know they've got an obligation, right, and a responsibility. And I think there's that trust thing, right? So they've got to get the right people in and have that human interaction with these models.
But there is a flaw in that the better the model becomes, the more disengaged the person is likely to be. If you see green tick, green tick, green tick, green tick, green tick, now if everyone's green, red, I would be engaged and be like, right, I need to fix this model. If that model is running at 90%, I'm going to be like, okay, and that 1% is probably the one that I'm going to miss.
Where all your data gets
and everything goes. So there is a question mark whether, similar to what we were saying earlier about investors just going yes, having that being on that autopilot, this pattern recognition. To what extent are we putting human beings into check in these decisions? I think the new DUAA said we now need to have human beings at certain decision points. To what extent is that because we are covering a legal base? Is that person actually going to change that model? Or given that for the first time we have a reference point in that it's not just the human, we have something else that is basically reflecting our biases. It's like a mirror. How likely is it that human is going to change the model? And the way that we work, I'm probably going to say, well, this model has 100 million data points, way more, it must be way cleverer than I am. I'm going to go with the model because we tend to have a bias to favor machines, because I'm going to say, well, we know the power of AI, isn't it? Or the person standing, if I have contrary information, I'm going to rationalize that machine is better than I am. And I'm probably going to go with the machine.
My wife's going with the machine a lot of the time now. When she'll ask me, and then she'll go and ask.
But I mean, like, we're like that with all technology, aren't we? Like, I'm not going to toast my own bread. The toaster's going to do it, even if it burns it most of the time. Like, it's still better at toasting bread than me doing it.
She'll come back. You see, you were wrong.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. And also, guys, so you mentioned about, generally there is a positive trend towards sort of the, tech for good, socially positive tech. What's your view on because, people have kind of different speculations about, again, like whether AI is going to be eventually good for society or is going to be not that good. What's your view on like sort of the future of like, socially positive tech or like AI for good, tech for good, vertical? Where do you see it going, like generally speaking?
I feel like we're sort of at a crux right now, and I think this is where like the investment environment can really make a big difference, right? Like we can choose to invest in things that we think are gonna go unicorn because they serve other tech people or the AI community, because that's where the money is, and tech people are really good at spending money, so let's build more products that appeal to tech people, or we can appeal to the society. I think that there are things that are happening already, right, where the public sector services are getting locked into a certain AI long-term tech and AI contracts by very large companies that have awkward practices with data and consuming data and monitoring that are maybe incompatible with what even our laws are here, but they operate like that in other countries. And so I don't know. I feel like it could go really well, but it could also sneakily go badly before we know it. We have lost autonomy and we've lost sovereignty over our services and stuff. It's actually happened in France recently that people who were, challenging American views in international courts, they had all their like American tech shut off. So Google, OpenAI, everything got shut off. They came to work, they couldn't, log into their Microsoft accounts. And so France has decided to basically all their government tech is going to become sovereign. And there is like also a new VC kind of thing set up by the government called Sovereign AI
Fund.
Fund.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's interesting. Yeah. And it's up to those kind of big drivers to really set the tone. Are we going to do efficiency? Are we going to do efficiency and tech for good, right? Like, are we going to use AI to improve our military capability, or are we going to use AI to help our people? So it's
good.
I mean, that's that question. We need to start looking. Wait,
sorry.
We need to start looking at the questions that we're asking, and at the moment, the market is saying, how much time can tech save me? Right? It's a really internal. Like, what can AI do for me? And we need to start asking, how much power can AI give back, right? Yeah. And it's, at the moment, you look at all of the pitch decks, all of it is, we can save you this. AI can do this for us. Yeah. And we need to start seeing gatekeepers and decision makers say, we want to understand what that output is going to be. Yeah. And there is going to, again, similar to maturity, we probably need to redefine tech for good or social tech. Yeah. Before, it's just don't do any harm. That was pretty much good enough. Yeah. And now that's not going to be good enough. I think we are looking at what's called regenerative tech, tech that is actively going out and solving the social and human problems that are out there. And given the deterrent that some of these incidences are having, my gut feeling is that it's going to require a greater degree of transparency in companies, probably similar to this hygiene that you have in restaurants. You have these 5 circles where you're going to be able to say, okay, we are fully transparent in the way that we mitigate bias. We are fully transparent. We audit our training data. We make sure that, we are publishing everything that we possibly can do, because there is a capacity issue in the market at the moment. Everybody wants this tech and AI, but do we have the internal staff to be able to evaluate whether that tech meets all of the strategic steers and is compliant with legislation? The answer is no. So we're either going to buy something we absolutely don't know and just run with it. And we have actually had customers, kind of say that we want AI. And we're actually like, we don't have it yet. And they went into that phone went down so quickly. They didn't care what it was. They just wanted to have the AI and the Wi-Fi's and the BGs. And
if you could go on your model though and see it has like an 87% accurate or whatever, that type of thing would be brilliant. Like you say with the hygiene rating, you see it's a 5 out of 5.
But that measure of tech for good will probably be about that community participation and how we got there. And organizations are going to have to be much more transparent. Yeah. And in the past, we've been able to claim, well, we're tech for good, but we have no idea about how that is done.
B-corporating for AI, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So, that's kind of where I think that we're heading. Yeah. When we've got a long way to go, though.
Yeah, totally. Definitely. Well, turned out way deeper conversation than I expected. But I think we're about to wrap up. Guys, thank you very much for joining. I honestly loved the chat. A lot of food for thoughts, actually. I think for all the viewers and everyone. Thank you, everyone, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.